Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the PCS Nation live show here on Facebook. I'm excited. Everyone is here. I'm excited about my guest today. Before we get started with that, for those of you who have not caught our show before, let me give you a little bit of insight about the PCS Nation, kind of what we're about. And the PCS process for active military is a stressful one. And we are a group of individuals in the real estate community, the lending community, and some strategic partnerships that we've developed throughout our travels that can help our active duty military with their PCS moves. We know that it's a stressful process. We know that, it can take a toll on them. And we want to do our part in providing them with the resources they need and how we can get them the information they need as it relates to the VA home loan benefit, the real estate partners we have across the country, to try to take some of that financial and that stress off of them. So today, I know anybody who's watching this live, please share this. There's a lot of people out there in the real estate and the loan officer communities that can use this information that we're going to go through today. We want to make sure we get people the accurate information and anybody who can use this. So on that note, I want to welcome my guest today, Mr. David Garrett, the man.
How do you?
I am jealous because I can't grow anything on this mug. It looks ridiculous. So I'm jealous of that. But David is our VA Underwriting Manager here at Benchmark, and somebody that I get to work closely with our VA education platform that we have here at Benchmark, and getting the right information to our loan officers, which obviously trickles down to our partners and our active military and veterans that want to use the VA home loan benefit. So, David, welcome. Thanks for taking time out of your busy day today. I know you are super busy. We are, as a company, man, it's just been
slammed.
Insane, which is awesome. We're helping a lot of military out there. We're helping a lot of veterans. But take a couple of minutes to share with these fine folks that are watching us today about your travels through the mortgage business and kind of what led you to Benchmark.
Well, 20 some odd years ago, I graduated college and had no idea what I was going to do, and followed footsteps with one of my friends into the lending world. So with Wells Fargo Financial, which was, for those of you who don't really know, was a ripoff, but it gave me a lot of good experience. So I know the front side of things. I know how to, generating loans, but we took things even farther. Even going into collecting loans, I was knocking on doors, asking for payments, and people didn't make their house payments or car payments stuff. So
that's fun.
Yeah, it was always a good time.
Yeah.
But so from my perspective, that part of it gave me a lot of different things. We were in charge of our own profit and loss statements. We had to collect our own loans, generate our own loans. So I see a lot of things from the front side that maybe some underwriters don't. And so I will try to bring that perspective into certain things. I've worked for corporate America, worked at the Bank of America National Underwriting Center here that was in St. Louis. Been to a few different companies, went and worked for Nation Star for a little while, and then went to some small mom and pop shops to deal with some local underwriting, pulled some banks through some of their FHA, getting them set up with VA and FHA. So my background is quite vast. One of the things that I enjoyed about Benchmark was their vision. And that was where I was working at before. I had some great friends, and I was working for people literally that I bartended for when I was in college before I even got into the lending world. Nice. So I left friends to come work here, and the reason for it is because of the vision. And where they were headed and what they were looking for. And I see a lot of things that that Benchmark has to offer that I just don't see anywhere else. And so, it's kind of one of those things that I'm able to, and it makes me feel good every day that I'm able to pass a lot of different knowledge on and help educate people on different things. And and not necessarily change minds, but we have very seasoned underwriters. We have some young underwriters.
Sure.
And it has great goods and bads on both sides of things.
Right. Well, I know that for those of us that have been in the business as long as we have, the lore or the opinions of underwriters, throughout the years sometimes, and justly so, right? There's underwriters out there who underwrite like,
it was always us against them.
Right. It's us against them mentality. So what do you feel like separates, what makes Benchmark different? What makes our underwriters different as it relates to that?
It's their mindset. One of the things that we do, from a VA standpoint, I have a meeting with our underwriters every week. Every week, 2:00, we have a call. Sometimes we'll skip the call if we don't have anything going on. We're super busy, which is some of the times that we're running into now. But we try to keep an open mind, and one of the things that we try to do is we try to break down some of those walls. We want to make sure that they understand what our goal is. We want to make a successful homeowner. We want to teach each underwriter to kind of to get into a mindset of how do we help this person? How do we make a good positive home buying experience out of them? And are there certain specific situations that we can do? And the great part about it is with our group, we have some very seasoned underwriters, and they know the guidelines. They've underwritten VA loans for many, many years, and sometimes those things have changed along the way. With different circulars, the handbook doesn't seem to ever really change. But you have these old seasoned underwriters, not old, but seasoned underwriters that have been doing it for a long time, and then you have newer underwriters that have just become VA certified and get their SAR. And so the conversation between the two is awesome because you have one that may want to pull the reins back, and you have some of the newer ones saying why, and vice versa.
Right.
You have great communication between the two. We have an open forum, so everybody's allowed to talk, ask questions, and we learn from each other. And I think that mindset of us trying to help the veterans and learn from those things is what sets us apart from everybody.
Yeah. And so one thing that I've learned in my time here, obviously, is that it's a very collaborative environment. Mm-hmm. That, the relationship that we have with our underwriters, and I'll speak to mine specifically with Lainey, and she's a phenomenal human being, number one. And that, I think that's one of the things that I've noticed. And you look at the pattern with especially our VA group, they're really good people. That's where it starts. Yeah. Right. And then they're also very intelligent. They have a willingness to take, okay, that's an idea. I didn't think about that. Right. Maybe we can make that work. And, it's collaborative, and it's not that us against them, that old school underwriting mentality, where even companies that I pay attention to today, I see that. I see this divisiveness, this combativeness, like there's like constant butting heads all the time. And I look at it and going, the first thing that pops in my head is like, thank God I don't have to put up with that shit. Yeah. Right. So you're thankful, and then you're thinking, okay, now that allows me, because I know that David and his underwriting group truly have my back. I can go out and help more veterans and help more active military because I have this team of pros behind me that truly understand what it means to underwrite a VA home loan. Yeah.
And we have a lot of common sense, and the underwriters that we have are they're very knowledgeable. They're very commonsensical. Yeah. So when they're not going to throw the no at you right out the gate. They're not just going to go, well, we can't do that. We've never done that. Right. They're going to say, what's your idea? What is your philosophy? What do you think that we can do to get through some of these things? They'll tell you whether it works or whether it won't work, whether it meets or whether it doesn't meet. Sure. And the wonderful thing about underwriting with VA is it does allow you a lot of latitude and a lot of brevity to have those kinds of. There are certain black and white guidelines. Just says this is what you do. That's the end of it. But generally, when you look through the handbook, it says generally this is what you need. But there may be instances where you can do something different. So that's one of the great things with the underwriters is we try to break down that wall of no, you can't do it. No, you can't do it. That's always been the mentality from the big stores. And now you have these underwriters saying, maybe we can't. Maybe that makes sense. Let's take a deeper look into that.
So Chastity asked a question, and it's very basic, and things that. So if you're an underwriter, a VA underwriter looking at a file for, an active military member or veteran, what is in a nutshell, what is their job? what is their job as they're flipping through this file?
So from a very high level, one answer sentence to create a successful homeowner. Now, how do you do that? There's a lot of things that we do that we look at, and from an aspect of, do we have, does this borrower have a good job? Can they make, do they make income? Do they have a history of being a good borrower, whether it's with other mortgages, whether it's just with a car loan, whether it's just with, paying their credit card. But at the same time, we understand that veterans have rough spots in their life. When they get deployed, the whole world gets turned upside down.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that they're a terrible borrower, or their credit score isn't necessarily always reflective of how that person's character is. Right. So, one of the things that we try to look at them is the biggest piece of that puzzle is isolating whatever that veteran went through. Can we isolate it? If we can isolate it and say, this was that spot in his life where things were difficult, then is that gone? Has he recovered? Has that person recovered back? And can I put this guy in a house and know he's going to stay there?
Right. And we want to make sure, that we set people up for success.
Right.
And, to Chastity's point, she said that you remove obstacles, and that is true. Yeah. We're going to take what people may misinterpret, because I think that what we do better than everybody else is we have that collaborative environment to where if, okay, I'm stuck, well, hey, will you mind looking at this? Because I just can't wrap my head. Am I missing something?
Right.
And we remove those obstacles because, anybody who deals with active military members, especially, if you're looking, especially with National Guard, especially with reservists, when they get AT orders or something like that, it's not easy.
No.
And you have to be able to sift through those things, ask for explanations from the military member. Okay, what does this mean? How does this make, what does this look like 30 days from now, 60 days from now? And be able to put that together and say, you know what, that makes sense.
Yeah,
we can go with that.
And I think, a bigger piece of that, and I think what from the sales side of things, that's the best thing to understand is we can document honesty. We can't document fabrication of whatever somebody thinks that, oh, well, if I tell them this story, this will be a great one. This makes total sense.
That's a fantastic point. Yeah.
And so when we see those things and we see somebody that comes at us and says, man, here was my problem, and this is what I went through at that point in time. I went overseas. I totally forgot about this. So that's where this piece was. When I got back, my wife, it had taken all my money and ran away. That's this piece, but
it happens.
3 years, it does. I say that because those are true things from a military standpoint that we see more frequently, obviously, than anywhere else.
Well, part of it
is taken out of control, not necessarily at their hands, by someone else taking that control away from them.
Well, a lot of times they're a victim of circumstance.
Sure.
Right. Especially as we've taken on and we are getting this PCS message out and we're educating ourselves, educating, the military member, developing these strategic partnerships with agents and, military spouses who can help. CC Gallagher's become a friend of mine who with the Stress Less PCS kit. And those of you who know CC is very selfless with her information. And, Chastity, who is a friend and a partner out at Fort Bliss, who is a phenomenal agent with a phenomenal team. They help us so we can help the military member. And PCSing is difficult. Yeah. It creates stress. It creates a stressful environment, not only for the military member, but for the spouse, the kids, everybody.
And from an underwriting standpoint, how you handle that, it will either heighten that stress or bring it back down. Yeah. And the knowledge base that we have and the way that we train our people, and some of the avenues, even farther past that, we have some great. I've tried to help, and even some of our other underwriters. We've created some amazing relationships directly with VA, and so we have a pretty quick hand avenue to get sticky situations looked at that may not necessarily meet guidelines. We get that answer back from them, and then we train everybody else. And so it's trickling down that information that you get from VA teaching everyone and passing that knowledge on to everyone. And that, again, is where that, it may only be a 15, 20-minute phone call every week to our underwriters just to kind of go over quick things. But sharing that knowledge and giving that to everyone is how we make things better and how we make that situation for that veteran easier to get through.
Well, the thing about anybody who's watching this who's been in the military can attest to this. They train constantly over and over and over and over until their eyes bleed, their fingers, whatever, until just ad nauseum. Because the one time they need that, they're going to know instinctively what to do. And so my opinion is by us doing that, we're doing the exact same thing in our area of expertise. We're constantly training. We're having those conversations with our underwriters, which gets down to our sales staff. And, this is a real life scenario. I have a borrower who is active military, PCSing, has already PCSed once and PCSing again. And during his last PCS move, he couldn't rip his family away from his old duty station because they were still in school.
Right.
That's disruptive to his children.
Right.
He had to make a call. He did. They bought a house in Michigan, but he had to maintain 2 households.
Yeah.
On an E5 pay, one in California.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people, to be honest with you, would look at that and go, sorry, buddy, can't help you.
Yeah.
The one thing, and this is one thing that I want everybody listening to this to understand, the one thing that we can do, not only as human beings, but as industry professionals on the mortgage side, on the real estate side, is let them tell their story. Let them tell their story and let us understand it. If you pass judgment without having all the facts, you are truly not doing them any favors.
Right. 100%.
We have to understand the unique needs of the military buyer because they are not like anybody else. I think we can all agree on that.
And again, that story is what gets you to the finish line.
Yeah.
That story behind that veteran is what sets you apart as a lender, as a loan officer, and them as a borrower, is allowing them to give you everything about their life, and they will entrust you, and they'll tell you everything that's there. And if you embrace it and you say, okay, that's perfect, let's work with what you've given me, and then take that and make it a successful person or a successful borrower down the road.
Yeah.
That's how you get them there.
Yeah. And they want to be led through this process.
Right.
They want to be led through, and we're the professionals. We have to understand them, not the other way around. They live this on a day-to-day basis. So telling those stories is wildly important. So you and I could probably sit here and talk about guidelines until we're blue in the face. But what I want you to do for me, if you can, is we have a lot of those incredible stories, I think, that we've helped people.
Right.
If you had to pick one, what would be your favorite story of somebody that we helped here at Benchmark? That truly was an outside the box underwriting scenario. So I think the people watching this would like to hear the story, number one, and then how we as an underwriting group work through that problem.
Boy, to single one out. Yikes.
Yeah, I know. It's a tough one. We've got a lot.
Man, I can tell you that with my time here, I've read some very interesting letters. I've read through stuff. I mean, I had one guy wrote me a 4-page letter the other day, literally documented date by date and different stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God, this poor man's been dragged through the mud. And it had everybody in it. It had lenders in it. It had loan officers in it. It had dates. It had declines. It had times he tried to buy the house.
Wow.
And through this whole mess, and you're just like, good God, why didn't you give up? It's just not in their nature, and so you take somebody like that, in that guy's just been through hell and back, and we walked him through it and got him to the end, to the finish line. I mean, that says a lot about, one, the loan officer sticking with him, and it says a lot about the borrower and sticking with us and giving us the time to make it happen, and then the underwriter to believe in what was there.
Right.
But if we also had, I tell you another one, had a guy who had no credit, 50 something years old, never borrowed a dime from anybody. So if you look at his credit report, literally just blank. There's nothing on it.
Wow.
Raised 7 kids. So
Holy
imagine
cow.
being in the military, raising 7 children, never borrowing a nickel from anybody, and then going out and trying to buy a house. So it was like, how do we get this guy from ground zero to this? And and you look at it, and my first thought is, Jesus, he raised 7 kids and didn't borrow any money from anybody. They can give this guy the shirt off my back and expect it back in a week.
That's amazing.
So, gosh, I'm sure everybody's had those stories.
So let's talk about his story in particular for a sec. So you got somebody with absolutely no credit.
Mm-hmm.
So what as an underwriter are you looking at to help that man in his situation? What are you advising people to do to help him? Because a lot of people would have just said, honestly, tough shit. We're not helping.
Well, he's been shot down like 3 times before he got to us.
Right. So what did we do to help get him across the finish line?
We let him tell his story, just like we said. We had him write a letter of explanation and talked about his life, what he had done, why he didn't borrow any money. He talked about how he just didn't feel the need to be responsible to somebody else other than himself. And he wanted to just take the money that he earned. And if he couldn't afford anything outside of what was there, then he just didn't need it. And so we went back to the basics. We went back to what are the basics that somebody really has to have. Can we show that he's paid somebody something for a consistent period of time? Sure. Cell phones, car insurance, utility bills, things like that, where you take that and say, here, what have you done? And he just hands you a whole packet of paper and says, here's the bills I paid. I always pay my bills on time. They just don't show up my credit. So, that's where we took his story. We listened to what he had to say. We took everything that he said to us, and then he documented it. He was honest. He told his story, and he documented what he told us he could do.
And one thing that I'll say, and if there's any veterans or anybody who wants to use their VA home loan benefit that watches this video, and I hope you share it to those people, because it's truly important that they understand we're not all built the same. Number one, but it boils down to that mentality we were talking about. But the way I describe it to clients is, it's like going to court. It's not what you tell me, it's what you can prove.
Right.
And you have to help us help you. So by him doing those things, the loan officer taking it a step further and saying, this man really needs help. How do we do that? The collective minds come together and we say, okay, we can make this work if you provide us with X. The borrower provides us with X. We put it all together. We review it. Okay, that's going to pass. This is what we can do for you.
Right.
It's really as simple and as complicated as that.
Yeah.
And, as somebody who prides himself on trying to make sure that we execute on this benefit for them, we just have to make sure that we never quit on them.
Right.
And I think, we use that mantra, our benchmark never quits. And we've taken that never quit mantra and that mindset and injected it into our company. And people have embraced it with open arms, because this comes from the top down. What makes us different, in my opinion, is that this is not just, okay, yeah, we do VA loans and we do them well. Well, it comes from Stuart Hunter, the founding partner of Benchmark, to Jim McMahon, the president, to Brian McKinney, the CEO, Steve Remington, Jim Poulin, all the way down. And everybody has embraced it.
Yeah. And one of the wonderful things that I see, when we first started this whole thing, was we started seeing underwriters that you just watch them kind of blossom. I mean, where you had some that were just mindset, nope, I've always done it this way. I've always done it this way. That's the way we're going to do it. And they went from that to, well, let's take a shot. Let's see if we can do this. And the first thing that we had to do was tear down that wall of no, and tear down that wall between what loan officers believed an underwriter was and what an underwriter believed loan officers were. And what it created was a wonderful relationship where the loan officer was working for the underwriter and the underwriter was working for the loan officer rather than working against each other. And you saw those, you saw the loan officer would fight for the underwriter. If something happened, they'd say, look, I'll go get that. That makes total sense to me. And I completely understand where you're coming from. And so it was embraced by both sides. And I think that that's important for any company. If anybody, is watching this, or if you're dealing with loan officers, realtors, anybody, whatever that relationship is if you can't trust the other person on the other side of the table, that relationship's crap to start off with.
100%.
And it's not going to go anywhere. And so that's where problems come. And you start to see things break down. The worst thing you could ever do is to try to hide something from an underwriter. They're going to find it. They're going to find it. And then they're going to think you lied to them. And then they're going to wonder what else you tried to stick in it's somewhere else and where you're hiding things. And they're going to start picking things apart. So just always be open and honest and tell that story and give them everything. I mean, just throw all your cards on the table and they'll help you. And if you don't have underwriters that are doing that, that are stepping up and saying, hey, we want to help, show me everything, hold up your dress, throw down your cards, whatever that thing is, whatever they want to say. It's show me, give me everything. I can help you if I know what's there.
Right. And that's, we have developed as a company, some phenomenal real estate partnerships. And we have partnerships, around obviously major military installations, people that are not around military installations. But those partnerships, to your point, are built on trust. Yeah. Because I want that agent, and we want those agents to be able to go out and, tell their clients that they have a partner that truly backs them, truly understands them, and has that 100% confidence to back that up.
Yeah.
Because I know what that's done for my business. I know what that's done for the company as a whole. I know what that's done for the agents that are out there and the stories that I hear from loan officers that work all across the Benchmark platform is that the underwriters, and honestly, David and his team and how we do this, give us the confidence to go out, develop those strategic partnerships, build those lasting relationships, because we truly know that these people have our back.
Yeah.
And that, as a loan officer, that's all we can ask for, is to be able to develop that relationship. And I want all the real estate agents that are out there listening to this to understand this, is that through all the years that I've been in this business, the people that I deal with and the people that I get to work alongside with, David and all his underwriters and the executive staff, and putting these things together and building these platforms and being able to put out this, the content that we do and be able to help the things that we help is unique, in my opinion, because not everybody's built like that. And I will go up. I'll put our underwriters up against anybody. And simply because the one factor is they truly want to help.
Always. Yeah. And, it started I remember we had a conversation one time, and I don't remember, it was about some loan. And we said, I think originally it came back and said, we can't do that. And I remember Stuart saying, why? And then and I think that kind of started that ball rolling of, well, why can't we?
Why can't we do it?
Maybe we can. And so that's kind of, we've taken on that mindset of, let's see where it takes us. Let's at least take a look, and let's try and uncover what we can and pull it apart. And if we can stitch it back together, then so be it. If we can't, then it is what it is.
Yeah, and again, I think that mentality starts from the top. And as kind of we wrap up our time here, any final thoughts for anybody out there watching this? Any fine points you want to make?
See, somebody said Steyer for president, so I mean that
you do not want that. That'll last about 8 minutes.
I'd just like to say thanks for, anybody that's watching this. Hopefully you got something from it. I know it's, hopefully you're able to build that relationship with your underwriters. Hopefully your underwriters are wanting to build those relationships with you. Know that not all underwriters are bad people. I'm sure there's some that are kind of stuck in the mud and, always wanted to do things the right way. And maybe, maybe they'll change that. Maybe, they change and get an open mind. And I think a lot of those things are starting to come out, but know there's a real person on the other side, and they want that real person on the other side just as much as you want to do that. So break down those walls.
Yeah, and it's a great point. We teach on our team. Andrew has been instrumental in leadership instruction and things like that. And we lead from the front, right? And we lead up the chain of command, and we talk about leadership a lot. And so I appreciate your leadership, number one, with your underwriters, because it makes my job as a loan officer, honestly, dramatically easier. And I appreciate the mentality that you guys and the gals that you work with have. I know that the end user, who is the veteran, the active military member, truly appreciate it. I get messages and all kinds of things from not just my clients, but from all over the country thanking us for what we do. And Chad Fleming made a point. He said, most of our underwriters have been at Benchmark 8+ years. That is an anomaly for those watching in the mortgage business. It is. And I think it truly speaks to our mentality. It truly speaks to our leadership. Stuart, Jim, Chad, all of them. And this is a thing with that. And so anybody who out there who wants to have a chat with us about that, we're an open book, all of us. We will gladly spend time with you, talking to you about how we can help you. And I do that all the time. So, share this information with anybody that can help. Check us out on the PCS Nation Facebook group. We have a lot of resources in there for our active military members to get the information that they need. And, I appreciate David and his time. Dave, thanks, man.
You bet. Anytime.
I'm sure you and I will be talking soon.
Yeah.
As we do mostly every day. But, I appreciate your time, man, and your friendship and your leadership with your underwriters for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you all for checking it out.
Take care. We'll see you guys next week on the Facebook Live show here at the PCS Nation. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.